Amara's eyes snapped open to complete darkness. Her head throbbed, her mouth tasted like copper, and every muscle in her body screamed in protest as she tried to move.
This is
Panic
unacceptable.
clawed at her throat when she
stand for
realized her wrists were zip-tied to a leather chair. The last thing she remembered was leaving her nursing shift at Seoul National Hospital, walking through the parking garage, and then a cloth pressed against her face. Chloroform. She'd seen enough medical drama to recognize the symptoms. Hello viewers, welcome to AfroKWave-Tv. Before we continue, kindly support us by subscribing to this channel, as we promise to bring you more engaging videos. Like this video, and type on the comment section where you are watching this video from. The lights blazed on suddenly, blinding her. Amara blinked rapidly, her dark skin glistening with cold sweat as her vision adjusted. The room was massive, decorated in minimalist luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seoul skyline, abstract art on the walls, and furniture that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. This wasn't some dingy warehouse. This was a penthouse. A door opened and a man walked in. He was tall, probably in his early 30s, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that screamed wealth and power. His face was classically handsome in that sharp, angular Korean way, but his eyes were what made Amara's blood run cold. They were empty, hollow, the eyes of someone who'd seen too much death to be moved by it anymore. Behind him, a woman in a white medical coat carried a crying baby. The infant's wails echoed through the vast space, desperate and heartbreaking. "Miss Okonkwo," the man said, his English perfect but accented. "My name is Minho. I apologize for the dramatic circumstances of your arrival." "You kidnapped me," Amara spat, her Nigerian accent thick with fear and fury. "You drugged me and brought me here against my will. That's not dramatic circumstances, that's a felony." Minho's expression didn't change. "You recently lost a child. 3 months ago, a daughter, stillborn at 37 weeks. Amara's entire body went rigid. The wound was still raw, bleeding, a grief so profound she could barely breathe through it some days. "How dare you? Your body is still producing milk," Minho continued, as if she hadn't spoken. "You've been using suppressants, but the lactation hasn't completely stopped. I need you to nurse my son." The baby's cries intensified, and Amara saw the infant's tiny face was red and scrunched up in distress. Despite her terror, despite her rage, her body responded to those cries the way it had been programmed to for millions of years of evolution. Her breasts ached, milk threatening to let down. "You're insane," she whispered. "You can't just kidnap someone and force them to." "I can do anything I want, Miss Okonkwo. I own half of Seoul's underground. I have politicians, judges, and police chiefs in my pocket. If I wanted you to disappear permanently, you would vanish like smoke." He walked closer, and Amara could smell his expensive cologne. "But I don't want you to disappear. I need you to save my son's life." The woman in the medical coat stepped forward, her expression apologetic. "The baby is 6 weeks old. His mother died during an emergency cesarean. We've tried 17 different formulas, 4 different bottles, and 3 different wet nurses. He refuses everything. He's losing weight rapidly. If he doesn't eat soon, we'll have to insert a feeding tube, but even that is risky at his age and weight." Amara looked at the baby, really looked at him. He was tiny, underweight, his little fists clenched as he screamed. "Why me? Your blood type is B negative, rare. The baby's mother was also B negative. Our medical consultant believes the baby may be rejecting other milk due to an undiagnosed allergy or sensitivity. Your milk composition might be similar enough to his mother's to work." Minho's jaw clenched. "I've exhausted every other option. You're my last hope." "So let me get this straight," Amara said, her mind racing. You want me to breastfeed your child, and what happens after? You just let me go back to my life. That depends entirely on whether my son survives. The threat hung in the air, crystal clear. If the baby died, so would she. Amara's hands trembled. She'd come to Seoul 3 years ago on a nursing scholarship, dreaming of becoming a pediatric specialist. She'd met a man, fallen in love, gotten pregnant, and then lost everything when her daughter was born, silent. She'd stayed in Korea because going home to Nigeria meant facing her family's disappointment, meant admitting failure. Now she might die in a foreign country because a Mafia boss needed a wet nurse. If I do this, she said slowly, I want guarantees, legal protection, money, a way out of this city when it's over. Minho's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. You're negotiating while tied to a chair. I'm a healthcare worker. I know what I'm worth. That baby needs me alive and cooperative. So yes, I'm negotiating. For the first time, something like respect flickered in Minho's dead eyes. Name your price. 72 hours. If your son takes my milk and starts gaining weight, you pay me 100 million won. Erase all evidence of my existence from your world and arrange a transfer to a hospital in Dubai. I have family there. I want out of Korea completely. Done. Minho nodded to one of his men, who cut Amara's restraints. But understand this, Miss Okonkwo. If you try to run, if you try to contact police, if you do anything other than keep my son alive, I will find you, and I will make you wish you died with your daughter. Amara flinched at the cruelty of his words, but she stood on shaky legs. The baby's cries were becoming weaker, more desperate. Whatever Minho was, monster, criminal, killer, his son was innocent. She walked to the woman holding the infant and held out her arms. Give him to me, she said quietly. The baby was placed in her arms, and Amara felt her heart crack open all over again. He was so small, so fragile, his little body shaken with exhaustion from crying. She carried him to a plush chair by the window and sat down, her body remembering exactly what to do, even though her mind was screaming that this was wrong, this was insane, this was not her child. Minho watched with an intensity that made her skin prickle as she adjusted her shirt. The baby rooted desperately, instinctively, and when he latched on, the room fell into stunned silence. He nursed hungrily, desperately, his tiny hands clutching at her skin. Tears streamed down Amara's face. This was the moment she'd been robbed of with her own daughter, the moment that should have been hers. And now she was given it to a stranger's child, in a stranger's home, held prisoner by a man who could kill her without consequence. He's eating, the doctor whispered, her voice filled with relief. Oh, thank God, he's actually eating. Minho's entire body sagged, and for just a moment, the mask slipped. Amara saw the terror underneath, the desperation of a man watching his son die, and being completely powerless to stop it. He ran a hand through his hair and turned away, but not before she saw his eyes glisten. Prepare the guest suite next to the nursery, he said, his voice rough. Miss Okonkwo will be staying with us. Post guards at every exit. She doesn't leave the penthouse. How long? Amara asked, looking down at the baby who was now nursing peacefully, his little body finally relaxing. Minho met her eyes, and the emptiness was back. As long as it takes. Days, weeks, months, however long my son needs you. That wasn't the deal. You said 72 hours. I said I'd pay you after 72 hours if he's gaining weight. I never said anything about letting you go. He smiled, and it was the coldest thing Amara had ever seen. Welcome to your new life, Miss Okonkwo. I suggest you get comfortable. The baby finished nursing and fell asleep in her arms, milk drunk and finally content. Amara looked at his tiny, perfect face and felt the trap close around her. She'd just saved his life, and in doing so, she'd sealed her own fate. Minho wasn't going to let her go. Not now, maybe not ever. The doctor approached with a soft blanket. "Let me show you to your room. You'll need rest. The baby will wake in 3 to 4 hours for his next feeding." Amara stood slowly, cradling the sleeping infant. "What's his name?" Minho was pouring himself a drink at the bar, his back to her. "He doesn't have one yet. His mother died before she could name him. I haven't been able to think of one that fits." "Every baby deserves a name," Amara said softly. "Then name him yourself if you're going to be his mother now." The words hit her like a physical blow. She wasn't his mother. She was his prisoner, his food source, his survival mechanism, nothing more. But as she looked down at his sleeping face, she felt something shift inside her chest, something dangerous and protective and utterly unwelcome. "I'm not his mother," she whispered. "Don't ever say that again." Hello, viewers. Having gone this far with us here, kindly support us by subscribing to this channel as we promise to bring you more engaging videos. Like this video and type on the comment section where you are watching this video from. Minho turned to look at her, his expression unreadable. "Whatever helps you sleep at night, Miss Okonkwo. But we both know the truth. That baby is alive because of you. He'll keep living because of you. Whether you want to admit it or not, you're bound to him now. Bound by milk and blood." The doctor led her away to a bedroom that was larger than her entire apartment, decorated in soothing creams and whites. There was a bassinet next to the king-sized bed, already prepared. Everything had been planned. Minho had known she would agree, known she wouldn't let an infant starve regardless of the circumstances. As soon as the door closed and she was alone with the baby, Amara finally let herself break. She placed him carefully in the bassinet and collapsed on the bed, sobbing into the silk pillows. She was trapped, completely and utterly trapped, and the worst part was that she couldn't even hate the baby for it. He was innocent. He hadn't asked for any of this either. 3 days passed in a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and suffocating luxury. The baby gained 4 ounces, then 6, then 8. His color improved. His cries became stronger, more demanding rather than desperate. And with each passing hour, Amara felt herself sinking deeper into a role she'd never wanted. Minho kept his distance mostly, appearing only to check on his son's progress. He'd stand in the doorway of the nursery, watching Amara feed the baby with an expression she couldn't read. Sometimes she caught something that looked like guilt in his eyes. Other times, just that empty hollowness that made her wonder if he was even human. On the 4th morning, Amara woke to find Minho sitting in the chair by the window, the baby cradled awkwardly in his arms. The infant was fussing, not quite crying, but clearly unhappy. Minho looked exhausted, his expensive suit wrinkled, his hair fallen across his forehead. "He won't stop squirming," Minho said, frustration evident in his voice. "I've tried everything." Amara sat up, pulling her robe around herself. "When did he last eat?" 2 hours ago. You were sleeping. I didn't want to wake you." "You fed him?" She was genuinely surprised. "The doctor showed me how to use the breast pump. There were bottles in the refrigerator." He looked down at the baby, and for the first time, Amara saw real fear on his face. "Did I do something wrong? Is he sick?" Despite everything, despite her anger and fear and resentment, Amara felt a pang of sympathy. She walked over and took the baby from him, automatically checking for fever, rash, any sign of distress. The infant immediately calmed in her arms, his little body relaxing. "He's fine," she said softly. "Babies can sense tension. You're holding him like he's a bomb about to explode. He can feel that." "I don't know how to do this," Minho admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. His mother and I, we weren't in love. It was a business arrangement. She was supposed to carry the baby and then we'd divorce. I never expected to have to actually raise him. What happened to her? Minho's jaw clenched. Complications during delivery, internal bleeding. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. She died on the operating table, and I was left with a son I'd never planned to be a father to. Amara looked at him, really looked at him, and saw past the monster to the terrified man underneath. You could have given him up for adoption. He's my blood, my heir. In my world, that means everything. Minho stood, walking to the window. But I don't know how to be what he needs. I know how to kill. I know how to build an empire. I know how to make people fear me. But I don't know how to change a diaper without making him cry harder. I don't know how to hold him without feeling like I'm going to break him. Then learn, Amara said simply. He's your son. Figure it out. Teach me. She blinked. What? You know what you're doing. You're good with him. Teach me how to be his father. Minho turned to face her, and there was something vulnerable in his expression that made her chest tighten. Please, Amara wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him that he'd kidnapped her, threatened her, held her prisoner, and she owed him nothing. But then she looked at the baby in her arms, this innocent child who deserved better than a father who couldn't hold him without shaking. Fine, she said, but I have conditions. More negotiations? Minho almost smiled. I want to go outside, just for an hour. With guards if you insist, but I need fresh air. I need to see the sky without bars. She paused. And I want to call my sister in Nigeria. 5 minutes, just to let her know I'm alive. Minho was silent for a long moment. 1 hour outside, supervised. But no phone calls. I can't risk you telling anyone where you are. Then let me send an email. Something. My sister will file a missing persons report. She'll cause problems for you. I've already handled it. Your hospital believes you took an emergency leave for a family situation. Your apartment landlord received 3 months' rent in advance. Your sister received a message from your email account saying you needed time alone to grieve. He said it so matter-of-factly, as if orchestrating someone's entire life was just another Tuesday. As far as the world knows, you simply needed space. Amara felt violated in a way that had nothing to do with physical touch. He'd erased her agency, her choices, her very existence. You had no right. I had every right. My son was dying. I did what was necessary. Minho's voice hardened. Don't mistake my asking you to teach me for weakness, Miss Okonkwo. I'm still the one in control here. Are you? Amara challenged, her Nigerian boldness overriding her common sense. Because from where I'm standing, you're completely dependent on me. If I refuse to feed him, he starves. If I leave, he has no one. You need me more than I need you. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Minho crossed the space between them in 3 strides, getting close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Don't test me. You have no idea what I'm capable of. You wouldn't hurt me, not while your son needs me. She stood her ground, even as her heart hammered against her ribs. That's the problem, isn't it? For the first time in your life, you're powerless. And you hate it. Something flickered across Minho's face. Surprise, maybe, or grudging respect. He stepped back. You're braver than I gave you credit for. Or stupider. I haven't decided which yet. The baby started crying, breaking the tension. Amara rocked him automatically, humming a Yoruba lullaby her own mother had sung to her as a child. Minho watched, transfixed. What is that song? It's called Omo Mi. My child. It's about a mother's love being stronger than any storm. She glanced at him. Do you want to hold him? For real this time? Minho hesitated, then nodded. Amara carefully transferred the baby to his arms, positioning them correctly, supporting the neck and head. Relax your shoulders. Breathe. He can feel your heartbeat. Let it calm both of you. Minho followed her instructions, and gradually, the baby settled. A look of wonder crossed his face. He's so small. He's gaining weight every day. By next month, he'll be chunky. Amara smiled despite herself. Babies are resilient. They adapt. They survive. Like you. She met his eyes. I'm surviving, but I'm not adapting. Don't confuse compliance with acceptance, Minho. The first chance I get to escape, I'm taking it. I know. He looked down at his son. That's why there are guards at every exit. That's why your room has cameras. That's why I'll never give you that chance. You can't keep me here forever. Watch me. The next 2 weeks fell into a strange routine. Amara fed the baby every 3 hours, day and night. Between feedings, Minho would appear for lessons on fatherhood, how to burp the baby, how to read his cries, how to soothe him when he was fussy. The man who ran a criminal empire approached parenting like a military operation, taking notes, asking detailed questions, practicing until he got it right. Amara watched him transform from terrified and awkward to genuinely competent. She saw the way his face softened when the baby grabbed his finger, the way he'd talk to his son in Korean, making promises about the future they'd have together. Despite herself, despite everything, she began to see him as more than just her captor. But on the 17th day, everything changed. Amara was in the nursery, changing the baby's diaper while humming softly, when she heard shouting from the main room. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. Her body went cold. She grabbed the baby, holding him against her chest, and looked around frantically for somewhere to hide. The nursery door burst open. A man she'd never seen before stood there, gun drawn, his face twisted with rage. He was younger than Minho, with a scar running down his left cheek. You, he snarled in Korean-accented English, you're the wet nurse. Amara backed toward the window, clutching the baby tighter. Please, he's just a baby. Whatever your problem is with Minho, he's innocent. Minho killed my brother, took everything from me. Now I take everything from him. The man raised his gun, aiming it directly at the baby, starting with his heir. Time seemed to slow. Amara saw his finger tighten on the trigger. She saw the cold determination in his eyes. And without thinking, without considering her own life, she turned her body, shielding the baby completely. She'd already lost one child. She wouldn't lose this one too, even if he wasn't hers. The gunshot was deafening, but the pain never came. Amara heard a body hit the floor. She turned, still holding the baby who was now screaming, and saw Minho standing in the doorway, his own gun still raised. The attacker lay dead on the nursery floor, blood pooling beneath him. Minho's hand was shaking. Are you hurt? His voice was raw with something that sounded like terror. Did he touch you? I'm fine. The baby's fine. Her own voice was trembling, adrenaline crashing through her system. Minho crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled both of them into his arms. For a moment they stood there, 3 people bound by violence and necessity, and something Amara didn't want to name. She could feel Minho's heart pounding against her back, could hear him whispering in Korean, words she didn't understand, but could feel the meaning of. You protected him, Minho said finally, pulling back to look at her. You could have run, could have let him take the baby and use the chaos to escape, but you stayed. I told you, he's innocent. Amara looked down at the crying baby. No child deserves to die for their father's sins. Something shifted in Minho's eyes. Something dangerous and tender and completely terrifying. I'll never let anyone hurt either of you again. That's a promise. I don't need your protection. Yes, you do, because my enemies just learned my greatest weakness. He touched her cheek, and Amara hated how her body responded to that gentle touch. They know that hurting you hurts me, which means you're in more danger now than ever before. Then let me go. Send me away where I'll be safe. I can't. His voice was barely a whisper. I won't. And in that moment, Amara realized the terrible truth. She wasn't just trapped by threats and guards anymore. She was trapped by something far more complicated. Minho had fallen for her, and worse, she was starting to fall for him too. Thank you for being a part of this story. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel. Also, tell us if you need a part 2 of the story. Like this video and type on the comment section where you are watching this video from. Thank you for watching.